Hare Krishna. Today we have, the thing with the Bhagavad Gita, and we're going to read some sloks, and we're going to have a little discussion, my fellow Jamaicans. And if Russia don't invade Ukraine, we're going to get ourselves good live stream up in here. All right. God bless, the thing, America. And yep, that's it. That's what we got. All right, just joking around. Man, I love playing around with that now. It's my new toy. The lighting in here is horrible, so I can't keep doing that. Well, I can give myself a little more lighting. How about that? I think one more is max. Let's try this guy. Yes, I'm a billionaire, and after spending so many billions that I made in South Africa, I finally thought I could come here and launch my phallic symbols into space. Nothing could be more beneficial for mankind. So you should really listen to me and not that fool Jeff Bezos, whose phallic symbols are far shorter than mine and lesser in girth. All right. I got to stop that. Okay, we're live. Okay, now we're live. The rest didn't count. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thanks for coming. Oh, great. Now it's going to green screen glitch everything out. Oh, boy. Got to get out of the snap. Okay, here we go. Let's get that regular camera back in here. Oh, come on. Really? Okay, there. Whoa, no. Bad computer. There we go. And I believe, but I could do a virtual background. This one's nice. I'm using StreamYard, and it's not as good as Zoom for the virtual background. So we'll just get rid of it. Hare Krishna. Oh, boy. Bhagavad Gita. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. No glitching. Just pure love from this incredible. This is the best book cover of any book you'll ever see, or have or get or find or whatever. And Srila Prabhupada is there too. That's cool, man. All right, I can't look at mine. I have to look at the camera. Here we go. Continuing where we left off last time, chapter 2, verse 20. That means we're going to need another month or two just to get through chapter 2. That's just how I like it. More time to relish. Relish my nectar. Please join with me if you'd like. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. 220. That's where we're starting. Now let's get there before the Durkastanis take over the infidels, and really important things happening in the world, as I'm sure you all know, that really affect my life personally. That's why I always talk about it. Today, this class, we have a guest. This fly has entered my house. I don't know how. It's a big fly. Okay. For the soul, there is never birth nor death, nor having once been, does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Man, this thing is annoying me. He's probably trying to get some of that nectar. He's trying to get that first row seat to all the nectar. Oh, okay, long purport here, but I think I'm gonna. I mean, like we already know this, so I'm just gonna try and see if there's something new here. Looks like there is. I mean, what can I say? What am I gonna do? Say no to reading Prabhupada? Purport. Qualitatively, the small atomic fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit is one with the Supreme. Qualitatively, he undergoes no changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called the steady or kutastha. Kutastha. The body is subject to 6 kinds of transformation. It takes birth in the womb, remains for some time, grows, produces effects, gradually dwindles, and at last vanishes into oblivion. I love that word, oblivion. The soul, however, does not go through such changes. The soul is not born, but because he takes on a material body, the soul is a boy, is it? Well, that's kind of racial or sexist, Mr. Prabhupada. That was a joke. Some people still get offended. Like I make like I like over exaggerate everything so like any child can see what I'm doing, but adults have the right to be more stupid than children. What am I going to do? Tell them no? I do. If they're adults younger than me, I do. If they're older than me, I'm nice. You know, I maintain the dharma. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard. By hard, I mean difficult. Anyway, the soul is not born, but because he takes on a material body, the body takes its birth. Right. So even though you are born, as we say in English, you're not. The body is born. The soul is always here. I think first it comes into the sperm. Or is it no, the sperm has to meet with the well, there are little souls and living entities in sperm and all the tiny cells, right? But the human soul enters at conception, right? When at some point after the sperm fertilizes the egg or at that exact moment, right around then, the human soul enters what I guess we'd call the zygote. Man, it's been years since I studied that stuff. And, but there's still no change. And, you know, there's a lot of conservatives now. There's only one video I'm referring to where it's like a parody satire video where the guy says, okay, and here's this new technology. I can't even remember how to say it, but they're joking about how like one day before the baby's born, some people claim it's like that's abortion and it's okay, but then the next day after the baby's born, if you kill the baby, it's murder and it's so bad. It's the same thing. Oh yeah, and so in the video they're talking about the magical birth canal, and just by taking the baby and moving it through the canal, it becomes a baby or whatever, which is nonsense. The only real logical place to conceive of a new human soul from not existing to existing in this 3D world is conception, when it's microscopic. I don't even know if you, I mean, I mean, God, there's always some technology to abort whatever you need to abort. I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just technology. We, just can do anything we want to these days, and most people want to do bad things. Hence, it's Kali Yuga. So this advanced technology is actually a sign of the bad times, not the good times. A lot of people have trouble getting that, especially Americans. So the soul does not take birth there, and the soul does not die. Anything which has birth also has death. And that was exactly the previous verse, what we read last time. Not the previous one. It was one of the very most recent ones. Oh, but I can find it. So, nope, still not there. Yeah, it's 2:16. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation, by studying both. So, even though Krishna does say it more explicitly in this verse, and Prabhupada explains it more as well, if you're logical and you're following along and accepting this as truth, you don't need these future verses here, because I mean, it's still nice to have them, of course, but as soon as Krishna asserts the soul is eternal and the body is not, that means any body that's born must die, according to 2:16. This is just expanding on that. Because the soul has no birth, he therefore has no past, present, or future. I was actually thinking about this earlier. So Prabhupada, like most authors, he's just using he because he is a he, and it's just easier to do it that way. But the actual way out of this mess is what the Chinese do, and other languages as well. There's just it. Why bother with gendering anyone? If you're talking about third person, just call it third person. Things, I mean, sure, people are more important than things, but if everything's an it, you can't offend anyone because everyone's equal. And if you need to like stress their gender, you can call them Shaniqua or Johnson or whatever, because names themselves have a masculine, feminine component to them anyway. So if you want to honor that in someone, you can, say, oh, absolutely Vanessa. You can accentuate it to genderize it a bit more. We don't actually need gender in grammar. It can work well. Sanskrit has a lot of this, and then of course it's degraded up until modern English. There's a good reason for it, but it's important to know that. I think it's important for everyone to know you don't need to conjugate anything in the language. That's Chinese. There's zero tense. There's no tense. There's no past, present, future. None of that. It's just I go. I go to bus. I go to school. That's it. If I want to say tomorrow, I say tomorrow I go to school. Why you need to say I will go to school? I already said tomorrow. You don't know what tomorrow means? This is how stupid people are. That was mean. I'm sorry, white people. I'm really, really sorry. Thank God there's no one here, right? Okay, good. We got no one here yet. I'm still won't get in trouble. Can still keep doing this. There's no trace in history of the soul coming into being. Under the impression of the body, we seek the history of birth of the soul. That's a beautiful point. But the soul actually does never come into being. So it's part of our material conditioning that looks into, ooh, I wonder what our ancestry is, and like, what were they doing? Where am I from? It's like, you're from the source. There's no, like, you're from the same place you're going to, and you're not moving anyway. That's just, I need to stress that again. It's a really important point. I'm in funny mood because I found this new comedy show that I've just been binging like crazy. So it's hard to be serious now, but it's fine, actually. It's still, the important thing is that I'm here. We are here reading the Gita. That's the important thing. Serious or not serious, I mean, just doing it that's how you know you're a practitioner in the Madhyama stage. You don't, oh, the weather changed, I don't feel like going to the temple. No, I'm here. I said I do this every week. I've done it every week. It's also called being a man, like an adult. It's another way of looking at it. Yeah, so it's material conditioning on why you think that history in general is interesting. Sure, it's prudent to learn the mistakes of the past so you don't repeat them, but beyond that, it's useless. There is nothing back there, and there's nothing in the future either, because the soul, which is what we are, is eternal. There is no past, present, or future. It's all of that happening forever, so they basically don't exist. There's no use for that. Especially linear time is completely useless for the soul. It's a purely three-dimensional human construct, linear time. And one devotee video I was seeing recently, he mentioned how the Eastern traditions, not just India, but also China, the whole East, they don't have linear time traditionally. They have circular time where everything's in cycles and it keeps going on forever. That's still, that's more advanced than the Western linear time, but it's still material. That's still not the actual experience of time for the soul. The soul, there is no time. There's eternity, and you can't measure eternity in time. Anyway, it's cool stuff. Oh, and I was watching a Sadhguru video, and he was talking about time and how when you're really joyful, time flies, and when you're really miserable, time takes forever. So that is material, but that's a clue. Once again, material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So that is a clue into our nature. When we are in Satchit Ananda, in pure bliss, time flies. It flies so much that there is no time. That's what it means. That's how you know you're there, is it just, yeah, it flies. I'd love to do these classes it's been almost a half hour. I still haven't finished one verse. I could do this for forever, for hours and hours. But, part of being an embodied soul is you have the body, and my voice just can't last forever. That's the main reason I keep these classes short. I know you want them to be short too, but I don't want them to be short, and I don't care about you. Hare Krishna. How do you think about that? I mean, what do you think about that? So, English sucks, man. You don't want to speak English. You want to be better at life? Just stop speaking English. Trust me. It's a horrible language. It's barbaric. It's ignorant. Just stop speaking. Just stop. Just stop. Hare Krishna. The so-called old man, therefore, feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. The changes of the body do not affect the soul. The soul does not deteriorate like a tree or anything else material. The soul has no byproduct either. That's really important. The soul is pure cleanliness, and purely self-sustaining. It's just like, it's light from a sun that never dies. Think about it like that. The byproducts of the body, namely children, are also different individual souls, and owing to the body, they appear as children of a particular man. That's really important for you parents out there. They're not your children. They just appear like your children. And I've noticed myself that the advanced devotees who actually get that, their children become good devotees because they see that in their parents. Wow, it's like he's not trying to control me, and he actually sees me like an individual soul. And and then Krishna is like this good, cool guy too. Oh yeah, I'll do this for a little bit, and that's all it takes. It's really simple. When you try to, but you're my son, you're my dad, and you have to do this for me, and you have to follow all these strict rules. But why? Well, because Krishna said, well, who's Krishna? It's I don't know if it's ironic or not, but these same people who are really controlling um, are also seem to be dogmatic, and they don't actually, well, avidya. Maybe they have the jnana, but they don't really have the vidya. Sorry about that. I mean, it's true, so I'm not sorry for speaking the truth, but I really don't want to disturb anyone. I do want to make people laugh, and sometimes people get disturbed to make other people laugh, but I have to speak the truth, especially in this world where truth is few and far in between. I'm just going to keep speaking the truth. Don't really care how many people I offend. I really don't want to offend a really great soul, but beyond that, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The body develops because of the soul's presence, but the soul has neither offshoots nor change. Therefore, the soul is free from the six changes of the body. And then Prabhupada quotes the Katha Upanishad 1-18. And the meaning of that verse is the same in the Gita, but here there's one special word, vipascha, which means learned or with knowledge. Yeah, oh my God, it's so cool. That verse is almost identical. Najayate, they both start with Najayate, Mariyate, but in the Gita it says Va Kadachin, in the Upanishad it says Va Vipaschit, or Vipaschit, yeah. Other than that, the third line is exactly the same for both. Ajo Nitya Sasvato Yam Purano. And the fourth line is also identical. Nahanyate Hanyamani Sarire. Many people may think, oh, well, this is plagiarism. What kind of scriptures have exactly the same verse in two totally different scriptures, but they claim to be different scriptures? What is this? Okay, that's your modern Western conditioning that just doesn't get it. It's good that they're almost identical like this. That's a very good thing. As it says in the Rig Veda, it's one of my favorite verses I like to quote. Where would that be? Basically, there's one sloka in the Rig Veda which says, it's Rig Veda Samhita 1:164:46. Truth is one, but the learned refer to it in different names. There's only one truth, and that's the truth. And you can, even within the Vedic tradition, there's different names for this one truth. Like, oh my God, there's so many good, like Krishna. Look at how many names does Krishna have? They're all Krishna. They're all that one absolute truth, but there's a billion different names. And it's beautiful. It's a good thing. It's a colorful, beautiful world. By world, I mean reality, not globe. The soul is full of knowledge, or full always with consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Okay, we already learned that. Okay, good analogy. Sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky owing to clouds or for some other reason, but the light of the sun is always there. and we are convinced that it is therefore daytime. Sometimes I'm not convinced. As soon as there is a little light in the sky early in the morning, we can understand that the sun is in the sky. Okay, thank God he saved me. True. Similarly, since there is some consciousness in all bodies, whether man or animal, we can understand the presence of the soul. This consciousness of the soul is, however, different from the consciousness of the Supreme, because the Supreme Consciousness is all knowledge, past, present, and future. I'm struggling to see the analogy here. The consciousness of the individual soul is prone to be forgetful. When he is forgetful of his real nature, he obtains education and enlightenment from the superior lessons of Krishna. But Krishna is not like the forgetful soul. If so, Krishna's teachings of Bhagavad Gita would be useless. That one I still struggle to vidya, to realize, to integrate into my character, to become buddhi. Vidya is a better word, I think, but there's even, I'm sure the Sanskrit guys can tell me an even better word than vidya, but I have, like, the jnana, the knowledge here makes perfect sense. How if Krishna was not Krishna, the Gita would be useless. But for me, I'm thinking, I guess it's because I'm still a knowledge guy. I think, well, the truth is the truth. Well, this is very Western conditioning too. The truth is the truth. So as long as I know it's the truth, who cares where it's from? Like maybe some guy, won the lottery, and the prize for the lottery was the truth, and he tells me the truth. Shouldn't I still be grateful and live my life according to that truth? Yeah, but I guess the only way to know for sure that it actually is the truth is if it's coming from the source of the truth, which is Krishna. Still having trouble. We'll keep reading. We'll see how it goes. There are two kinds of souls, namely the minute particle soul, Anuatma, and the super soul, Vibhu Atma. This is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad 1-220. Both Paramatma and Jivatma are situated on the same tree of the body, within the same heart of the living being, and only one who has become free from all material desires, as well as lamentations, can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. I like how it says material desires and lamentations. Dvanva moha, the duality. It's not just like lust is like the number one enemy of like spiritual growth, basically, but there's still the lamentations, the depressions, the other. There's another side to it too, and you got to avoid both sides. Krishna is the fountainhead of the super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters, and Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna or by his bona fide representative, spiritual master. Jesus. Okay, finally we're on the next verse. More than a half hour, that one verse. Sorry about that. 221. O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, unborn, eternal, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Okay, this is a didactic technique Krishna is using here. Rhetorical technique here. See, he's a good teacher. So when you're a teacher and your student has the right kind of submission and humble attitude and curiosity, and they're ready to take it, you can do what I like to do and what the reason I like Prabhupada and Aristotle and the other masters I like is they just give it to me. I want the truth. I want it now. They just give it to me. And I'm a good student because I'm able to accept it near instantly. Many people are not, including Arjuna in this instance. I mean, that's actually the reason why the Gita can can get this many words in it is because if Arjuna just accepted everything Krishna said at the beginning, then he would just said, "Oh yeah, you're right," and he'd just pick up his weapon and they'd start fighting. But I mean, the more difficult the situation is, the more you need to be basically babied through it, coaxed, and all those conditionings have to be accepted and properly handled and basically manipulated. Not, I mean, Krishna's not like exploiting Arjuna or anything, but you have to let the teacher, in this case Krishna, play with you, use you like an instrument for his symphony that he's conducting. And I mean, a lot of what Krishna's doing here, as far as I can tell, he really just wants Arjuna to understand this. And Arjuna, in this case, is the jiva, is us. And so for some people, for those people who are ready, this is why the Gita is so amazing. For those who are ready, he just gives it to you. It's right like Raja Vidya, like the king of all knowledge. Maybe I'm doubting my own knowledge when I say it. I always thought Raja Vidya meant knowing that the body is not the soul, but then I read chapter 9 and I was like, it doesn't actually talk about that in that chapter, those verses. Anyway, chapter 2 has everything. So if you if you're hungry for the truth or desperate or humble enough, whatever, you can read chapter 2 and that's it. You don't actually need anything else. For example, one of my favorite verses, 9:26. Just offer me a leaf, a flower, a fruit with love, and I'll accept it. You can, using just basic logic, determine just from chapter 1 and 2 the kind of personality Krishna is, and the truth about Paramatma and Atma. You can logically assume that this person Krishna does not need a castle. He doesn't need you to offer him a Lamborghini or like some fancy thing. That's not what he's into. He doesn't want that. It's not like, it doesn't mean Lamborghinis aren't great cars. They're great cars. But and if you offer Krishna a Lamborghini with love, yeah, he'll take it. But he doesn't actually need the Lamborghini, just like he doesn't actually need like a plate of spinach or apples or whatever. But when you understand and accept in your heart your place compared to his place, anything you offer from that place becomes purified. Krishna is happy to accept it, and then when we take the remnants, it's a big deal. It's a small deal, but it's an important deal. Small means subtle there. So yeah, Krishna in 222. This is very classic rhetorical, kind of little didactic or Socratic method. I'm not sure what the right word is here. Krishna already asserted that the soul cannot kill or be killed. So he's asking Arjuna to think about it. And Krishna's basically saying, please try to prove me wrong here. You're not willing to accept it? Okay, tell me I'm wrong. I wonder what Arjuna will say. Let's move on. 223. Oh, wait a second. Sorry, that was 221 I just read, and now 222. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, similarly, the soul accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Okay, so that one is also like the truth Krishna's talking about here. He's already dished out the truth, but this is a new analogy um, to provide a new perspective on the same thing using garments like clothes, um, something that's more practical and easy to grasp. Um, so maybe the rhetorical question didn't do much, and Krishna has I'm anthropomorphizing that he's a teacher like me, and he's saying, okay, so I told him the truth, he didn't accept it, I gave him a rhetorical question, he's still not really feeling okay, I'm going to back off a little more and say, oh, okay, here's just like a simple, like, practical reality. This is like just you know this is a sweet little way to think about it, and let's see if Arjuna accepts that. Really long purport there. Talks about the soul and the super soul as friendly birds on the same tree. And this is like, it's such a great analogy. It's showing like, um, it's it's not only an analogy, it's what's actually happening. Um, the the bird, the atma, the jiva, the bird, is eating the fruit of the tree. Wow, this is good fruit. But Krishna is like, I'm just here for you, buddy. I'm just here watching you, and I don't care about the fruit. I mean, I made the fruit, and I know what it is, and it's just fruit, and I'm not hungry, but I want to know how you're doing. So, through forgetfulness of the relationship of master and servant, um, is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another or from one body to another. So the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits. But if he's able to turn briefly to his friend who is the Lord and knows that his glories, the glories of the Lord, at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties. Arjuna has now turned his face towards his eternal friend Krishna and is understanding the Bhagavad Gita from him, and thus hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and be free from lamentation. Arjuna is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his old grandfather and his teacher. He should rather be happy to kill their bodies in the righteous fight so that they may be cleansed at once of all reactions from various bodily activities. One who lays down his life on the sacrificial altar or in the proper battlefield is at once cleansed of bodily reactions and promoted to a higher status of life. So there was no cause for Arjuna's lamentation. Let's be fair here, Mr. Prabhupada. There was no logical cause for Arjuna's lamentation. But considering the emotional and ethical, I mean, by ethical, I mean ethos, according to the character of Arjuna, his saintly character, and how young he was within that family, um, man, yeah, I'd be lamenting big time. Any one of us would. That's why people are interesting. That's why we study stories, because when you fully put yourself in the shoes of that character, you'll say, "Oh yeah, I'd do exactly the same thing." If you can't do that, it means you didn't put yourself in the shoes of that character. At least not well enough. 223. Soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can he be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. So the soul transcends the material elements. Um, some talk about Mayavadis here from Prabhupada. It was never possible to cut the individual souls from the original soul. The Mayavadi, however, cannot describe how the individual soul evolved from ignorance and consequently became covered by illusory energy. Because they are atomic individual souls, sanatan, eternally, they are prone to be covered by the illusory energy, and thus they become separated from the association of the Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of the fire, although one in quality with the fire, are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. That's another interesting analogy. So, like, I still got plenty of japa to do. That was so funny, right? I started thinking, and all my like chores and errands came into my mind for some reason. It was just like an onslaught of like 5 things. Oh, and like food for my body, and just like, what the hell just happened, man? Literally hell. Oh yeah, so great analogy. So we are basically sparks of the fire that are leaving the fire. If we just stay in the heart of the fire, we remain with the same qualities of the fire forever, as long as that fire exists. And the Krishna is, and even ourselves as souls, we are eternal. So this is a fire that never goes out. But, and even though we are eternal, this forgetfulness we have, or this longing to lord it over others, or the material nature, the elements, whatever, we don't get separated from the original soul. We get covered. We lose association of the Lord, just like within, as humans, if you are, you work really hard to be, I don't know, like I'll use a ISKCON example, like a second initiated brahmachari in Mayapur. You're in some like high position within a society. I mean, it could be a Google or Microsoft, it could be anything. And then, you say some offensive things, you do some things, and you get fired, and or you're kicked out, and then you lose that association. It doesn't mean that Google died or you died or something. It just means like these things are still happening. There's still a society. It's just that one part about it, you lost the association. So you have to earn it back again. You have to apologize, or, look within, try to understand yourself and how that happened. And when you understand that from yourself, this is what happened with me many times. Yeah, maybe you don't go back to that same group of people anymore, and they accept you in with open arms and all that, but you do end up where you need to be, at another place, at another temple that accepts you, and maybe they're in a more elevated position anyway. And yeah, going back into the eternal fire. In the Varaha Purana, the living entities are described as separate parts and parcels of the Supreme. They are eternally so, according to the Gita also. So even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity, as is evident from the teachings of the Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. Okay. That actually contradicts the first part of this paragraph here. Well, before that paragraph, in the first one, it talks about firearms and nuclear weapons. And these modern scientists don't have knowledge of these tornado weapons. Nonetheless, the soul can never be cut into pieces nor annihilated by any number of weapons. And then, nor was it ever possible to cut the individual souls from the original soul. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that first sentence. It's a Chintya Beta Abeta. So everything, look, everything is one. That's true. Everything is one, but it's different at the same time, too. So, yeah, like we are individual souls, but we're part and parcel of the big soul as well. So maybe cut the individual souls from the original soul means evolved from ignorance and consequently became covered. All right, the key word there is covered. We get covered by illusion, and then we discover the illusion. We literally discover the illusion and go back to our eternal association. So at the end it says the living entity always remains a separate identity, but in the first one it says you can never cut the individual souls from the original soul, which makes it sound like it's always together with the original soul. Okay, but I guess what Prabhupada is saying is that like they're connected, but they're not one. So the individual soul and the super soul, they are connected. They're part of the same Brahman, but the identities are different and unique. Moving on. 224. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, all-pervading, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Sounds like it's describing Aristotle's unmoved mover a little bit there. The wordage, at least. Yeah, actually, I think that's kind of what's happening here. But Aristotle, he's not the Bhaktivedanta Swami. He's a different kind of Swami. Aristotle was the master of the mundane world, the material world. And so the best he could come up with for God was this unmoved mover, this, this original cause that started all the other causes. And yeah, that is like that aspect of God that Aristotle's referring to is us in quality, but in quantity, the super soul has it all. But whether it's Atma or Paramatma, it has these traits that Aristotle referred to as unchangeable, immovable, eternally the same, all-pervading, a lot of this stuff. The only one I remember in my head is the unmoved mover, but Aristotle used other words as well, just like this, like contradictory words that like can't really exist materially, but make perfect sense in a way, like eternally or spiritually. The theory of monism is very difficult to apply in this case because the individual soul is never expected to become one homogeneously. After liberation from material contamination, the atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spark in the effulgent rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the intelligent souls enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the Personality of Godhead. As always, there's choice. Even after you accrue all this good karma from all these lifetimes, including this lifetime, and At the moment of death, Krishna says, "Oh, I'm here. You made it. You can become one with me and, my impersonal energy, or you can hang out with me more personally. What do you want to do?" Well, the safer choice is to stay in that impersonal effulgence because there's no person there. But Krishna's a person, so if you, God forbid, offend him or do something he doesn't like, or maybe he'll just toy with you. He'll just play with you and say, I'm just going to send him to this planet for 1,000 lifetimes. Let's see what happens. None of you can say Krishna won't do that. You can't say that. Krishna has complete free will, and you can't say for sure what he can or cannot do. If you piss him off, he'll he can do something. If you love him a lot, he can do something as well. Like maybe Prabhupada loved Krishna too much. And so Krishna was like, all right, you really want to serve me? Really? Okay, well, I got this one planet over here. And they really need you, man, but it's going to be tough. And, even though you're going to be seen as the number one Uttama Adhikari, blah, 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 whatever, Paramahamsa, whatever, you're going to have to leave your wife and children. You have to go to this other country, have a bunch of heart attacks. Like, oh my God. Lots of difficulty. But that can be a reward. That can absolutely be a reward for a very pure devotee, a top level soul within Krishna's network. That what Prabhupada did and went through could be seen as a very high reward or as a punishment. Or this is why Leela is so interesting, because it's just personal relationships of people in this network. And like once you're in the network, you just start to appreciate really anyone who's really also getting it and doing well and just doing a lot of things. I think that's why Srila Prabhupada loved what's his name, Jayananda Swami, so much. And because he was just in the network. They're in the same network, and they're both, like, Jayananda was just doing a lot of stuff, like, purely. And Prabhupada was in the position to just see it so clearly. And then there are other people who I shouldn't talk about at that time. Anyway, Vishnu John Swami, he's another, like, the voice or whatever, like, bhakti is a heart thing, and the heart, like, expresses itself externally, sometimes in music and other ways. And so it's not that, like, Vishnu John Swami was like this great kirtanier just because of his musical ability. That was like a part of it was there, but it's really the heart. The heart was there, and Prabhupada's heart was even in a more advanced place, but not, eventually you get to that point where you're not like just advanced and then you like look down on the ones less advanced. It's like, no, you see everyone as basically children in a playground at their own level, at their own way of, at their own spot within the path. We're all on the same path. And someone like Srila Prabhupada, I think there are others as well outside of our movement that are at a similar level. They can see, they see the equality of all souls, but more importantly, there's a compassion there. Once you get a little bit taste of this bhakti and some mystical experiences, it's very easy to get a quick puffed up head. And basically what's happening for many of us is you're puffed up in the material world, and then you're puffed up in this quasi-spiritual world. And eventually, once you're you keep improving. Eventually, you get to that point where there's just nothing to be puffed up about. And it's not like a artificial renunciation. It's there's just nothing there. You don't have to try to renounce it. It's just not there because you see in the soul, in the other souls, you see yourself. Not that we're all one, but you know, but there is one path. There's only one progression. And so someone who's in a beginner stage of that progression, that's fine. It just means they're a beginner. And if you're a really good teacher, you're gonna have a fun and better time helping them. Of course, the problem is with the demoniac nature, which is duplicitous, and it might it might act like a humble, curious beginner, but really it's just trying to extract as much value as it can from that guru, and then eventually, use it for profit and all the whatever else. I mean, that's really a difficult situation. And according to what a friend told me today, there's nothing really Prabhupada could do about that. And eventually it got to the point where he said, okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to spend the rest of my time here on my books. And eventually soon after, Krishna will take me home, which he did. And his guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami, apparently it was the same thing. Started this big Gaudiya Math, very successful, but then it got too successful and all the politics came in play. I said, look, I'm gone, man. I can't do this. That's also another reason you're dealing with a real saint is if they don't have, if they're knee deep in some office desk, in some management position. they're not there, man. It's just so distasteful when you're vibrating at that high level of consciousness to be dealing with all this human drama, social, political. It's crap, man. I mean, even for many of us like myself who are not at that level, it's just so obvious to see for us that this is just a crappy way to live. And but the demons know it's the best way to gain power over others and lord it over the material nature. In the old days, you'd have to train, you'd have to be good with a sword and ride a horse, and if you wanted to lord it over others, you'd have to actually acquire some real physical skills that are not easy to acquire. But now you can just go on your computer, you can wizard magic spell your way into do some hack and then get some money and then finance scams and there's so many scams now that you can just do sitting at home. So media scams, information war scam, culture war scams, finance scams. I mean, everything. If you want to be as evil as possible, you don't have to fire a single bullet now. But the flip side of that is if you want to be as good as possible, same thing. You can do what I'm doing, which is just, you take the best thing you start reading it in front of a camera, and it's just it's all information age stuff now. So all the demonic media out there, we just have to do the same thing, but on the other side. That's called war, and that's what we're in right now. So you thought I was going to finish, didn't you? Well, it's about an hour. Anyway, I hope at some point we can all do more war together, play more war games. I'm going to keep going. Sorry. So the purport of 24, and the word sarvagataha, all pervading, is significant because there is no doubt that living entities are all over God's creation, on land, water, air, so on. The belief that they are sterilized in fire is not acceptable because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be burned by fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. And if the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word sarvagataha, living everywhere, becomes meaningless. Very interesting point there. So, if like me, you sometimes hear these Hare Krishnas talking about the sun planet with all the living beings there, or the moon or whatever, and you think, man, that's weird. Well, it says right here in this verse, the soul cannot be burned or dried, or in, and it's insoluble. So it can live in water. Um, Never burned. It can live on the sun. Um, Same with dried and unbreakable. There's a corollary for each of those. Um, what I was thinking of when I read this is I saw an image of what are those called? The gats, the funeral pyres, where they burn, the dead. And yeah, you might think, being materially conditioned, that um, oh, they're burning that person, or yeah, they already died, but now that the body's burned, it's like something. It's like more final, like, oh, now they're definitely gone. No, they were gone as soon the soul left the body. As soon as it was gone, the fire just burns the body. It has nothing to do with the soul. I mean, it has a little bit to do, but 225. We should at least do 5 verses today, right? There's like 70 in this chapter. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, immutable, and unchangeable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. Okay, now I feel like Krishna's getting impatient, like me, and he's really hammering it home to Arjuna again. Here's so many reasons why the body, you just don't worry about it, because it's not real, it's not you. It's of the inferior energy, and you are superior. So you don't have to worry about this inferior stuff. 226. If, however, you think that the soul is perpetually born and always dies, still you have no reason to lament, O mighty armed. Yeah, we're going to end after this verse. This is an important verse. This is another really good teaching method Krishna uses here. It's kind of like Purva-paksha, but not exactly. I think Krishna is trying to steelman the counter argument. So I don't know, but I mean, it's really strong no matter how you look at it. So first, Krishna says, if you think the soul is perpetually born and always dies. So that would be a solid counter argument to what Krishna said earlier, that actually the soul is never born and never dies, and that's just the body. Well, you could say, well, no, there is no soul, and that's just the body being born and dying again all the time, and it's hard for me to imagine now. But still, you have no reason to lament. And the basic point here is that, well, if your body dies and that's it, well, you might as well go out with glory. Or if your body dies and you get a new body, then you get a new body. So you don't need to lament about these things. Let's see what Prabhupada says. There's always a class of philosophers, almost akin to the Buddhists, who do not believe in the separate existence of the soul beyond the body. Beyond is an interesting word there. When Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such philosophers existed, and they were known as the Lokayatikas and Vaibhasikas. These philosophers maintained that life, symptoms, or soul takes place at a certain mature condition of material combination. Sound familiar? It's like modern scientists. The modern material science. It's the next sentence. Prabhupada said the same thing. The modern material scientists and materialist philosophers also think similarly. According to them, the body is a combination of physical elements, and at a certain stage, the life symptoms develop by interaction of the physical and chemical elements. The science of anthropology is based on this philosophy. I don't know about that. Anthropology is just about studying humans, not like elements. Anyway, currently many pseudo-religions, now becoming fashionable in America, are also adhering to this philosophy, as well as to the nihilistic, non-devotional Buddhist sects, like Zen. I think he's referring to Zen there. That's a big one. Even if Arjuna did not believe in the existence of the soul, as in the Vaibhashika philosophy, there would still have been no cause for lamentation. No one laments for the loss of a certain bulk of chemicals and stops discharging his prescribed duty. There's one point I made earlier. That Prabhupada makes it better than I did. If we are just the body and then the body dies, if we're only just a bunch of chemicals and blood and pus and stuff, and then we die and then that's it and that's it, well, you might as well really try to enjoy your life and your death. I mean, just YOLO, just carpe diem, seize the day. On the other hand, in modern science and scientific warfare, so many tons of chemicals are wasted for achieving victory over the enemy. According to the Vaibhashika philosophy, the so-called soul or Atma vanishes along with the deterioration of the body. So in any case, whether Arjuna accepted the Vedic conclusion that there is an atomic soul, or whether he did not believe in the existence of the soul, he had no reason to lament. According to this theory, since there are so many living entities generating out of matter every moment, and so many of them are being vanquished every moment, there is no need to grieve for such an incidence. That's another good point. It's like when you zoom in on your life and you think, that's my grandfather and he means everything to me, and if he dies, the whole world is destroyed as well. No, it's not the whole world, and it's not even all of your world either. It's just one part of your world that you're blowing out of proportion to be way more than it is. However, since he was not risking rebirth of the soul, Arjuna had no reason to be afraid of being affected with sinful reactions due to his killing his grandfather and teacher. But at the same time, Krishna sarcastically addressed Arjuna as Mahabahu, mighty armed, because he, at least, did not accept the theory of the Vaibhashikas, which leaves aside the Vedic wisdom. As a Kshatriya, Arjuna belonged to the Vedic culture, and it behooved him to continue to follow its principles. Next up, 227, next time. There it is, 227 next time. Thanks for coming, everyone. Maybe we'll get another cameo from Joe Biden next time. Sleepy Joe, Uncle Joe. What's my talking about? Hare Krishna. Dasano das das mi premni das 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 das.